Welcome to Madison City Channel's Know Your Candidate interviews, co-sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Dane County. I'm your interviewer, Shel Gross, and I would like to introduce Melissa Agard, who is running for Dane County Executive. As we begin, please give an opening statement about the educational, vocational, and civic experience you have which prepares you for this office and why you are running for County Executive.
Well, thank you, Shell, and thank you to the League of Women's Voters for providing this opportunity. My name is Melissa Agard, and I am proud to have grown up in this amazing community and raising my four sons here as well. I have had the opportunity not only to grow up here, but to serve on the Dane County Board of Supervisors for 4 years for 2 terms. I served in the state legislature for 12 years, including as Senate Democratic leader, and I am the current Dane County Executive. Dane County is clearly a very special place. And I know that it takes all of us coming together to be able to lift up and move our community forward. Dane County is on the map as the county that is growing the most here in the state of Wisconsin. And with that growth coming our way, we need strong, effective, and proven leadership in order to continue moving our county forward and protecting what makes our community so very special. So with that, I am excited to have my name on the ballot again to be reelected as the Dane County executive in our community in lifting up our values and our way of life, not only for today, but for future generations.
Thank you. What specific ideas do you have to increase the supply and quality of affordable housing, preserve existing affordable housing, and address the needs of unhoused people?
So housing is something that I've been hearing an awful lot about over the last year as I've been traveling around the county for a very robust job interview for the special election, and that drumbeat continues since my election to be county executive. Clearly, we need more housing of all types here in Dane County, and that requires collaboration and trusting relationships. Government, nonprofits, and the business sector coming together to make sure that we are providing this very needed access. Bottom line is we need more of everything. And Dane County has invested in a regional housing strategy, which is a roadmap to starting to address these real concerns in our community, along that we already have, along with that anticipated growth that we have coming forward to us. We have this successful affordable housing development fund here within Dane County that can increase home ownership options for historically marginalized folks in our communities. We can look at amazing projects like the redevelopment of the Bayview neighborhood, which is a neighborhood that I grew up in, playing with my friends in. And I think many people across Dane County look at that and say, yes, I would like that in my backyard. So really making sure that we are lifting up and communicating with one another, our local leaders, mayors, town board chairs, village administrators, as well as those within the county and within our for-profit community and our nonprofit community. That is ultimately how it is that we're going to be able to make sure that we are providing access to housing for people in Dane County. I firmly believe that housing is a human right as a kid that grew up with housing insecurity. And I dream of a day that there are not any children that are experiencing that.
Thank you. The racial disparities in Dane County are varied and widespread. What specific actions would you propose to reduce these disparities?
Well, you are right. The racial disparities are pervasive and widespread, and this is generational. It's something that I grew up hearing about, and we are continuing to talk about this. Clearly, Dane County and our municipal leaders are passionate about addressing this, and it is not only something that we experience here in Dane County, across the state of Wisconsin and across our nation. It is devastating to know that we are one of the worst places to raise children of color. And it is going to take a comprehensive approach. addressing housing access, addressing access to childcare, addressing increasing wages, addressing disparities with our criminal justice system. We need to have honest conversations with diverse voices at the table in order to address this. And we need to be okay with being uncomfortable because this has been happening for far too long. And I know that with collaborative leadership and with the connections that I have in the community, that we are going to move that benchmark and really begin to address the needs that we have in our community that have been highlighted by so many people for so many generations.
What are your priorities in environmental protection, land use planning, and transportation policy? What challenges do you anticipate and how will you address them?
So it is clear that here in Dane County, people really value and honor the protection of our land, air, and water. We have 25 recreational parks, amazing dog parks, and have invested in protecting and preserving our agricultural and natural beauty. We need to do better though. As a kid, I grew up swimming in these lakes. Didn't have a lot of money to go on vacations, but one of the first things I did on summer break was go and sign up for swimming lessons. And now we're at a point where people are recreating around and on top of our water, not in our water. In fact, our dogs can't go swimming, and people are recommended not to be eating the fish that they are catching. We need to be very planful about how it is that we move forward to address clean air, clean water, and an investment in protection of our lands. I am grateful to have the support of previous county executives, Falk and Parisi, who are innovators on a national level for protecting our natural resources and making sure that we are highlighting and prioritizing green development, preparing for extreme weather crises, and really the influx of people coming into our communities. I think some of the biggest challenges that we have there are the chaos at the national level, not knowing if we're going to have strong partnerships there, as well as the continued divide at our state level. Now, I'm grateful for more fair elections and excited about being able to build on my partnerships and relationships with legislators on both sides of the aisle, as well as Governor Evers, to make sure that we are continuing to invest in and protect our land, air, and water, something that matters to people here in Dane County and is one of the reasons why people continue to move here and continue to come here to play and recreate as well. And that isn't something that anyone can do in a vacuum. Clearly, we're going to have to create strong and diverse coalitions in order to continue moving forward because climate change is a real thing on top of the fact that we need to continue to protect our land, air, and water with the amount of growth that Dane County is projected to have.
The Crisis Resource Center and expansion of the CARES program outside of Madison have been proposed as ways to address the needs of individuals with mental illnesses. Do you believe there are further actions the county should take to address mental health issues?
100%. So behavioral health and addiction are two areas that I'm very passionate about. And it is a promise that I've made to this community that we will assess what it is that we are doing and how it is that we can do it better. Certainly, Dane County's priority goes from north to east and south to west. It's not just within our urban centers. And making sure that we are delivering on behavioral health services to people, no matter where it is that they live in Dane County, is a priority of mine. We do have a cornerstone study that was done in Dane County Human Services, and we are in the process of reassessing and bringing people together to see how it is that we can most effectively make sure we are meeting the needs of everyone in Dane County when it comes to behavioral health needs. Whether it is expansion of the CARES program or working with our municipal leaders at all levels to make sure that we are providing the resources to vulnerable people within our communities. Behavioral health is something that all of us need to be prioritizing. Times are hard, and we're hearing not only about our farmers and rural communities, but also from our children, our school teachers, and people on the front lines on how it is that we need to make sure that we are authentically putting our resources where it is that they're going to make the biggest difference in people's lives.
Thank you. Please describe other priorities for your term in office. These include new or expanded programs. How would you propose to fund them?
So here in Dane County, people are watching their tax bills, and I am one of them as a single mom of 4 kids. And when I recently received my tax bill from the county, I noticed that about 11% of what it is that I am paying in my taxes go back to the county. The services that the county provides are overwhelmingly mandated by our state government, oftentimes with some money that comes through there. But our shared revenue portions that come from the state are not fair. And they do not deliver on the promise of what it is that people within our communities desire. It is vitally important that we do keep an eye on fiscal responsibility as we continue to deliver and prioritize the highest level of services. People in Dane County do hold their elected officials to a high standard. And I look forward to the continued dialogue with folks. I think some of the things that I am prioritizing during this time, frankly, at a national level, we are seeing some unpredictability and chaos, and we're going to need to have a steady hand with proven relationships with people at our state level as well as our municipal level to make sure that we are continuing to protect and serve the most vulnerable people within our community. So I will be reaching out and continuing to build on those relationships to make sure that we are delivering on that promise. I think it is also vitally important that we continue to heal on the urban and rural divide here in Dane County. There is a real us versus them mentality, and ultimately Dane County doesn't do well unless we are all being heard, and we are all doing well. I also am really looking forward to being able to be in the community an awful lot. My time in the legislature, I was always happier when I was in my district meeting with people and hearing directly from them. I am a firm believer that the people who I represent are my bosses. And I've had the opportunity to visit dozens and dozens of communities across Dane County and hear from people about what it matters. And it is clear that what is different about our communities is simply where they are on a map, what we care about, delivering high quality services, seeing each other for who we are, investing in our economy, making sure that our entrepreneurs and Main Street businesses are set to be able to be successful, to provide good paying jobs, and really a vision of compassion and caring for one another are the messages that I have heard from folks. And I look very much to being able to continue to deliver on the promise that I have made to the people of Dane County in providing these services, because that really is the Dane County way. It is what it is that we care about, and that unity is what is going to continue to move us forward.
Thank you. What would you like to say to the viewing audience as we complete this interview?
So I am grateful for this opportunity to share a little space and a conversation with you all, and appreciate the opportunity that's been provided to me by the League of Women's Voters. And ultimately, I am looking for the continued support and trust to deliver on the vision to Dane County that I have heard from all of you. Started on day one after being inaugurated in the election in November. And we faced some pretty monumental times. We had the Abundant Life tragedy that we experienced, and the transition to a new government, not only at the state level, but at the national level. And to me, it is clear from the countless conversations that I have had with folks that people have a desire for us to come together, for us to have each other's backs, and to really embrace what it is that makes Dane County so very special. As someone who was born and raised here and is raising my own kids here, who is currently serving in this role as Dane County Executive, I look forward to continuing to have that trust and for people to choose to cast their ballot for me in the April election. with my proven track record and my commitment to showing up, listening, and being engaged, and delivering on what it is that makes Dane County special. I am excited about continuing my service to our community in this chapter as your Dane County Executive.
I want to thank Melissa for speaking with us and thank the viewing audience for taking the time to know your candidates. I want to remind everyone that the general election is Tuesday, April 1st. Every election is important. Please vote. On behalf of Madison City Channel and the League of Women Voters of Dane County, I thank you for joining us.